Ever since the detonation of the first atomic bomb, the numbers of UFO sightings have increased dramatically. The question is, have our threats to ETs increased as well?
I actually said to my husband, they just bombed New York.
Many UFOs are spotted near government labs that are home to top-secret energy research.
It's not really a question of do you think they will. They have done that several times.
There are even reports of a possible cover-up of UFOs being shot down over national laboratories at Brookhaven and Lawrence Livermore.
We had a source that had seen lasers actually coming out of Livermore.
We've uncovered shocking video.
Okay, here we go.
That supposedly shows a piece of a smoldering UFO.
We will have the first evidence of a UFO crash in American history.
Have we fired the first shot?
You're going to see these two guys, one's pulling out a body bag.
And are we under surveillance by alien craft?
If they're balloons, if they're drones, if they're some kind of experimental things, fine. I just need to know what they are.
This is case number 92202, UFO surveillance.
We have gotten some pretty incredible footage taken by a person who was filming across Long Island Sound from the Connecticut South Shore, and he caught some really strange lights over Long Island. It reminds me of the 1992 alleged crash over South Haven Park, where supposedly Brookhaven National Laboratories was involved.
The 1992 crash of a UFO in a wooded area on Long Island occurred just 5 miles south of Brookhaven National Laboratories. That's significant because high-tech energy facilities have long been suspected of attracting alien interest.
Well, Brookhaven National Lab, I mean, that's a state-of-the-art scientific research facility.
Look what's happening over at Brookhaven National Labs in terms of atomic colliders.
And they created the first peacetime nuclear reactor. There are 21 national laboratories in the U.S., and of these, the leaders in energy research are arguably Lawrence Livermore and Brookhaven. The leading innovations in particle beams, lasers, fusion, and directed energy are more than likely going to come from one of these two facilities.
When we set off the bomb, we almost sounded an alarm. Big, huge nuclear explosions. Some other planet out there was listening, and they heard our signals. Think about all the UFO activity that occurred after the bombs were dropped in World War II. Now they're here to stay, and they're checking us out to make sure we don't do it again. Ever since we began nuclear research in the 1940s, it seems UFOs have followed. From Hanford in Washington State, to White Sands in New Mexico, to the test site in Nevada. It's no coincidence that breakthroughs in high-tech weapons seem to be accompanied by UFO sightings.
Just what are UFOs doing over some of these top research facilities? I think it's time we got proactive and try to surveil them instead of waiting for them to surveil us.
Brookhaven National Laboratory has been a worldwide pioneer in energy research for over 60 years. It was the first facility to build a peacetime nuclear reactor, and for years it actively promoted the use of atomic energy. 6 Nobel Prizes have come from work at Brookhaven. One of the world's largest particle accelerators was built there. The work being done here is far ahead of what most understand about science. So if extraterrestrial civilizations were interested in how we would challenge or threaten distant galaxies, they would hypothetically want to set up surveillance over Brookhaven.
I'm not a ufologist, I'm not an aviation buff. I'm just someone who's paying attention to objects that are appearing in the night sky over Long Island Sound that no one else seems to be interested in.
Mark, how you doing?
Well,
Pat, nice to meet you.
After seeing strange lights in the sky over Long Island Sound, Mark has made a dedicated practice of videotaping them regularly. He backs up all his work by plotting his location on maps, recording compass headings, and taking notes so that he can figure out what these lights are.
Originally, they were appearing in the Smithtown Bay area, kind of like over Sunken Meadow State Park. They would seem to be stationary for long periods of time, sometimes changing position. They would stay almost motionless for hours at a time. These things don't strobe. They're just steady lights. They almost look like little suns. They're so consistently lit. It looks like a dance when they start to move. There's a relay. They kind of change places.
So what do you consider your best footage so far?
Over the Norwalk Islands, there were some that were hovering so low above the horizon, they were kind of like moving sideways from behind the island.
Have you ever gotten a good enough view of these lights to make out a shape?
Through binoculars, I could see that it looked like a lozenge-shaped craft with two headlights in it.
The lights that Mark is describing match up with the craft in the surveillance operation. They travel in a set pattern, they hover in place, and they don't seem in a hurry to leave. We need to get more information on these flying objects to see if they're keeping vigil near Brookhaven National Laboratories.
Why do you go out so much to see the lights?
If they're balloons, if they're drones, if they're some kind of experimental things, fine. Whatever they are, I just need to know what they are.
Like Mark, I want to discover what these lights are. And they might not flash or strobe like a traditional airplane, but there are so many airports over Long Island, I want to see if there's a correlation. Terrace Masson is a video analyst who's an expert at finding the truth about what's on tape. Most UFO footage that he analyzes is brief and it's rushed. But Mark's video is different. There are hours of footage, and it's meticulously supported with data.
He's been very diligent about recording his shooting location, and he keeps very good notes. I would call him a very reliable witness. We actually pick up a very large number of these lights. What's consistent through all of the footage is that their motion is almost stationary. It's very, very slow. What was a little freaky was when you speed these things up at many multiple times playback speed, they dance and fly all around in repeated patterns, follow each other. Very wild behavior. The first thing that I always do when I look at this footage is try to establish sight lines. Where's the shooter? Where's the angle of shooting? What's the aspect ratio? What's the coverage? And I actually have a map here I can show that plots this out. You can see up here on the southern Connecticut shore 6 different locations that I was able to isolate and then correspond his shooting directions. The next thing I did was plot out the location of all the local airports. 6 out of the 7 sight lines, basically bullseye, are Republic, JFK, and LaGuardia airports. You can see the pattern actually corresponds to figure 8, kind of corkscrew, very consistent with lineup coming into an airport.
Now, is every video taken line of sight to airport just like this?
No.